Welcome to the Advisor Summit, the podcast where financial advisors gain analytical insights and tactical strategies from the industry's top minds. Each episode, we bring you exclusive conversations with founders, C suite leaders, and industry innovators, uncovering the trends, tools, and techniques shaping the future of financial advising. Whether you're looking to scale your practice, enhance client relationships, or stay ahead of market trends, the Advisor Summit is your go-to source for expert guidance and actionable takeaways. Hi, Lauren. Welcome. Thanks so much for being on the Advisor Summit. We're so excited to have you and just can't wait to learn from you. This is one that's really exciting for me because I feel like every time we talk, I learn something new. Marketing is also just fun, I think. I think it's the fun division. I'm sorry. I have to say it, and it's hopefully you agree, but it really is the fun division. So thanks for coming on here.
Oh my gosh, thanks for having me, Molly. It's good to be here.
Yeah, I feel like most people do. I mean, you're very well known in this industry, but for those that don't know you, can you share a little bit about your journey into the marketing industry and kind of what led you to specialize in really the financial advisory practice space?
Yeah, totally.
I know you do more, but I feel like
We do
that's
a
really a
lot.
great
Yeah, I
focus
know
for
we can
us.
do a lot, but it's all good. So my personal background is in graphic design. So I've
Oh,
always grown up. My mother is she had a small business as an artist, and my dad was a journalist growing up. So I always
oh,
grew up
that's
in a very
awesome.
creative household.
Yeah.
Went on to get my undergrad in graphic design, and when I got this business going, probably like a lot of businesses, right? I didn't
Yeah.
totally know where we were going to focus or land.
Yeah.
And we happened to get an RA client. We did a
Mhm.
great job, and I was like, "There's something here." And I was like, speaking of the fun stuff, I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay." You think of like finance or what have you as like, okay, from a graphic designer's point of view, you were like,
Yes.
okay, it's like black, gray, white,
Yeah.
like just like cut and dry kind of thing,
Yes.
navy. And I was like, but part of, I think, learning from that experience and as I talk to more people, right? It's such a human business. And
Mhm.
so I saw it as a
Mhm.
really fun creative challenge. I always
Yeah.
love challenges like jumping in the deep end and like let's figure it out.
Yes.
And I that's kind of where it just caught fire from there. We did a
Mhm.
great job, and then it kind of, one thing led to another, and so you fast forward to today and we're, 12 years in business, and we have built our team, our systems,
Yeah,
our
huge.
own like knowledge base and connections all within the financial services space, and most deeply within the wealth management on the retail
Yeah.
side of things space as
That's
well.
amazing.
So
I think it is a
yeah.
huge challenge because it's like really this sounds horrible, but so many people think financial advising and it's boring. Agreed.
Mhm.
Like it's just like it's something you should do, but you don't really want to. And I think you get the opportunity to make it
Yep.
fun, make people excited about it, within that visual space. So that's
Yeah.
amazing. I also love that you're always up for a challenge. I admire that about you. So
Love it. I'm like, bring it on. And our team
Yeah.
is too, you know?
Yeah. Well, you
Um,
attract those types of people when it really is from a top down perspective. You kind of
right.
attract those types of styles. But what are some challenges that financial advisors face when it comes to marketing? Is there some kind of big picture overall challenges that you find? You're like, there's a million. So maybe
Oh
top
my
top
gosh.
three.
I think, when I talk with advisors, it's different than sometimes what you hear on the outside. When I talk with
Mhm.
advisors, I often hear stuff like, "We're not marketers. We don't know
Yeah.
what to do,"
Yeah.
or, um, "We don't have the time for this," or, "We need someone to help guide us, like, tell us what to do, help show us that
Yes.
light." Like, what are other people doing, right?
Yep.
And sort of like not knowing, but then also like it can become once you get into it, just like any art of anything, right? Like you're like, oh wow, this is like pretty deep. And I think
Yeah.
once people get into it and they realize the amount of time and the complexity, that's really where we're able to kind of like come in, to
Yeah.
support. So that's what I hear when I talk with advisors. But on the outside, I think before they even get to us, right? I think some of the challenges are there's a lot of messages in this world that are like, you can build a website in 3 minutes, sort
Yes.
of like in a box kind of
Yeah,
thing.
like this unmet
Or
expectation of,
it becomes
"No,
a
that's actually
commodity.
not
Yeah.
real." Mhm. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's not a blueprint, and it's not one size fits all, where it just yeah, add it to your cart and go ahead and check out. It's not that way.
Right. And there is a time and a place for some of that, but I think a lot of
Mhm.
the firms that we're working with, a lot of the business we're working with are, we were just talking about this before we hit record, right?
Yeah.
You go from one mountain and you're like, I'm going to climb
Yep.
that next mountain, and it's not the
Yeah.
same path, right? And
No.
there's different, it's turbulent in different ways. And so that's where we can really come in to help level up.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm sure too, I mean, you've talked about also like 12 years in business. You've seen it evolve, you've seen it
Yes.
change. It's very different than it was 12 years ago. And
Yep.
for someone like just entering the marketing space, that can be daunting. They don't know,
Mhm.
they've seen this maybe in the past and now they're ready for it and they don't know. So
Yep.
what are some, changes that you have seen over the years? Is there any big items that stick out to
Yeah.
you?
Oh my gosh. Well, the whole robo-advisor trend was a whole trend and
Yes.
was really scary for some time,
Okay.
especially for a lot of the bigger firms.
Yeah.
And what does that mean? Obviously, AI is into the conversation right
Yeah.
now, and how that's being operationalized and used. Um, Kitces for a while has talked about target markets and the importance of that. And I don't
Yes.
necessarily see that as a trend. I see that as something that's very rooted in foundation,
Yep.
like just like the foundation of marketing. But that's something that I've heard get louder and
Yeah.
louder, and the importance of that. And I think especially how firms stand out and where they put their effort and energy. I also think that, like, from more of a trend perspective, I feel like I see more and more firms comfortable in their own skin, meaning I
Okay.
don't have
I
to
love
fit
that.
in this kind of box of whatever
Yeah.
Wall Street is
Yeah.
telling me to be,
Yeah.
but becoming more human. And I think not only themselves becoming more human as individuals and putting that out there, but even their processes and expanding their service offerings as well. So,
I love that. Yeah, and I mean, not a saturated market by any means, but you do have to find ways to differentiate yourself and really
mhm,
be your own person. And I do find that people can sense falsehood. So if you're, especially in marketing, if you're saying one thing and then they meet you and it's totally not a fit, then that's a very
yeah,
misleading thing, especially when it comes to financial advising with money. They're trusting you with their money. They're not,
yep,
this is not just a quick transaction, it's a huge deal. So what are some ways that you
yeah.
find financial advisors are able to differentiate themselves in a crowded market?
Yeah, well, target market is one of them,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's knowing a target market and then not being afraid to really like put that out there, who they're working with, how their
Mhm.
operations support that audience. Their content marketing also supports that and educating that audience. Just to, like, give an example, if you work
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
physicians, like putting that out there loud and clear on your website,
Yes.
your photography, your drop downs on your menu, you
Yep.
might have like webinars or blog content, or you're really talking to that individual so people go, "Oh, you know me, who I am in my situation."
Yes. Yeah.
Um, I see that. I also still feel like relationships run really deep, and I
Mhm.
see that with, M&A has been a huge trend over, if
Yep.
you look in the last 5 years or so. And I feel like a lot of that isn't just identifying a target market where you go, oh, I work with physicians and you work with physicians, we might be a fit, but there's a level beyond that, which is like, is there the right culture fit?
Yes.
So I think that part of differentiating yourself is also just, not to play on words, but you gotta get out and about.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you've gotta get out there. Yeah, like, you've gotta,
Yes.
talk with your other
Oh, that's
colleagues,
funny.
right? Like,
Yes.
so I
Yep.
think really, and again, that kinda goes back to being comfortable in your own skin, is that's part of, like, the
Right.
right fit. And if you're kind of putting out that energy for the right, um, either firm, if you're looking to be acquired, or if you're looking at the right
Yeah.
energy, to, bring in the right prospects, part of, I think that helps to differentiate versus kind of,
Yeah.
uh, being closed up. So,
Yep, yep. And I mean, it's really starts too with like a digital. I feel like maybe it starts more with the digital footprint because what's the first thing
yep,
anyone does? They go look you up online. Like whether you're having, reviews or anything of that
right.
nature. They want to know who you are in some aspects. So when we talk about, content marketing, what type of content performs best on like the digital side? Is it what would you say is like the top things that people need to have in play before they really go for it in their practice?
Oh my gosh, and Molly, I'd love to see your guys' data and what it says too.
Yes. Oh, we love a good data
Seriously,
story.
okay, so I'll say, like, brilliant at the basics, right?
Yep.
A website says, "Okay, we're
Okay.
in business."
Yep.
A like, if you've got, a LinkedIn company page, just
Yes.
getting that set up and, your logo on there and the about us section. Google has a free Google My Business page. So if someone were to Google in your business, it's going to show up there on the sidebar. So making sure that you
Oh, I did not
register
know
for
that.
that. Um,
Okay.
oh gosh. Those, to say logo, you might have like a key piece of collateral that you're using that's just kind of like a
The
leave
free
behind.
giveaway. Yeah.
Yeah, but just kind of, I think getting some of those just basics in place
Yeah.
are like, especially, this conversation happens a lot if we have got like a breakaway
Yeah.
firm that we're working with. They're like, okay, what do I actually need to just like at a basic level get into place? And
Yeah.
then when you actually start to kind of get your basic level in place and then you invest in really building out your brand, then
Yes.
we actually start to look at like the content channels and then
Yeah.
we start to look at performance against that. So um that's a tricky question to answer across the board because
Yeah.
everyone's target is likely a little bit different or what they're
Different.
trying to go after. Um, but depending on that, like I feel like webinars is always a good one because it kind of hits like all levels of the funnel.
Yeah.
Sometimes in-person seminars can be great for certain audiences as well if you've
Yeah.
got folks that have the flexibility in their time. LinkedIn is always a channel that we encourage within this space just because of the nature of that
Yeah.
platform.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
That's all no,
it's
that's
a little
perfect, and it
tricky.
is
Yeah.
everybody is so different, and I think too, just having your branding and your identity so set is so important, and we utilized your team for that to help us because we just kind of had all of these bits and pieces and didn't really have a cohesive branding plan, and I cannot tell you how many times we've gone back to refer to the brand book, to go back to the guidelines. It's just you guys all do such amazing things, and it's
Thank
like, man, we
you.
just need that, and I think for firms, know your audience, know who you're servicing, and then use out and about communications to really
Oh,
level
thank you.
in and dial in on your branding because that's your identity. That's really who you are to your prospect initially, how you look, how you present yourself. That's important, and it
Yep.
is really key, especially digitally. It's very effective. So I know you touched base on LinkedIn a bit. Is there any other social media marketing that you feel like is advantageous for financial advisors? I know Facebook ads was a big thing for a while. Have you seen
Mhm.
that still in play at all, or is it really
Not
just
as much
LinkedIn?
on Facebook ads. I YouTube, I think, is
Okay.
a
Yeah.
channel that advisors should really consider, at least in this moment of time. It helps to humanize the brand and be able to do more video so people get a feel of kind of who you
Yeah.
are and what you're about, how you talk, all of that. And those videos don't have to be like a super buttoned up kind of feel. Sometimes there's a place for that, but other times,
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, just a recording on Zoom and you can put a nice intro and outro on it with a little bit of editing.
Yeah.
It gets the job done, right? There's a balance with
Yeah.
that depending on the brand.
Yeah, I think so many people, it's daunting, right? To video yourself, and it really doesn't have to be that deep.
Yep.
It's people just want to kind of know you, know the brand. It can be very simple, like you said, for YouTube. It doesn't have to be this huge production, or cost
Mhm.
hundreds of thousands of dollars. So,
That's right.
do you see any emerging like marketing trends future wise? I know AI is really coming into play
Yep.
now. I mean, it's been around. I'm a little slow to the game. I have trust issues with AI, but
Yeah, yeah,
we've
yeah.
started
It's okay.
utilizing it and it's amazing. It's really
It's
amazing.
amazing.
I'm fascinated
Yeah.
by it.
Yeah.
Oh,
So, it's kind of funny because when you look at trends and you look at what's happening, you can't
mhm.
ignore AI and you should be using it. I think one of the challenges, though, is that it automates it, right? It makes it quicker, which there's a
Yes.
time and place for that. But I think as a trend, I would say leaning into the human side of the
Mhm.
wealth management experience more and more. Sure, you can, have AI send 1,000 emails to prospects and somewhat personalize them, but there
Yeah.
comes a place where it just feels overly automated, and this isn't an overly automated business.
Yes.
And
Yep.
so there's a really
Inauthentic.
delicate balance.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think, I'd say that, and then I'd also say that there's an opportunity in this space for firms to just further lean into their target and lean into their unique positioning for how they speak
Yeah.
to that target and how they can support them as well. Which is
Yeah.
like a kind of pie in the sky thing to say, right? That can really be brought down into much more as you were talking about earlier, right? Like your branding and your messaging and your
Yeah.
positioning and all these sorts of things. But I think as we get more into this kind of mass automated world, I think that the more we can not forget ourselves as humans and the human to
Yeah.
human business, I feel like that
Yep.
is really key. Um,
Yeah. And I think we'll see leaders emerge with that, don't utilize AI for everything because like you said, it is a very human to human business and people want to feel seen and see like heard versus just having a robot email you. That's not fun for them.
we all get
So,
all that. We've been all getting that for a while.
yeah,
Just raise hand in our
right.
email. I'm like, there's another one.
Yep,
Unsubscribe, you know?
yes, and you can tell. I mean, I think even as much as AI is incredible, you can tell. I see it especially on LinkedIn. I'm like, you guys, this I can tell you used AI. Like, yes, there's a
Right.
time and place for it, but it doesn't feel like you. And it's coming. It just I have mixed feelings
Yeah.
on AI, but in general. But
And that's a way
uh,
that's an opportunity for advisors though, because you can utilize those
mhm.
platforms, but if you're really tailored to specific audience and you're really
Yes,
offering them something of value, it shapes the it shapes the conversation in a different way.
yeah,
So that's those are some of I think just like the here and now trends that I'm seeing.
yeah, yeah. What advice would you give for financial advisors that are looking to improve their marketing in 2025? And I know it's kind of a difficult
Mm,
question because some might be, much more advanced or so let's kind of narrow it down to like a new advisor that's kind of just taking off and wants to
mm,
begin the marketing journey. Like where should they
okay.
begin?
Solo advisor or an advisor within a firm?
Ah, let's do solo advisor.
Okay. For a solo advisor, usually the advice that I give is because there's so much noise out there from a marketing
Yes.
perspective. You've got to have the perfect website. You should be on social media. You should have drip campaigns. You need to have a whole operational onboarding, yada, yada, yada. Just focus on one thing and
Yep.
lean into that and make it work. And usually, frankly, for that audience, it's taking really good care of their clients and nurturing their centers of influence. And
Yes.
even
Referrals and
better
existing
if you can
clients.
zero in, yeah, on a specific age demographic or target, but don't try to do everything under the sun because
No.
you are gonna get major shiny object syndrome, and you're probably gonna be
Yes.
pulled away from taking really good care of your clients.
Of your
Um,
clients. Yep.
and if you really like doing all the other stuff, then maybe it's a cue to you to
Yeah.
say, "Should I actually be more on the ops side versus on the, advisory side? Like, where do I fit in?"
Yeah.
Right? So I would
Yep.
just say for a solo firm, like, don't try to do everything and try to do one thing really well. And once you've got that down, then you can layer on something else.
I think
Um,
that's so freeing for advisors to hear. I think that's just freeing because you do, especially when you go to conferences, you talk to your friends and other advisors and it's like, well, this really worked great for me and this really
right.
worked great for me, but it's not you. You're a very different it could be a different demographic you're serving. It could be a totally different feel or a different target
Yep.
market. So, it's yeah, I love that. Just don't listen to the noise. And it's great for anyone, really. I feel like that's such
Yeah.
pertinent information and advice for all of us. Like don't listen to what everybody else is doing, like focus
Yeah.
on what your goals are in the long run
Mhm.
because your goals might be totally different.
It's
So,
so true. And at that stage, you just really need to focus on taking care of people, and
yeah,
the rest will really come from there.
yes.
So yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Well, final question, our last classic question is where are you trucking this year? Personally or professionally? What is your big goal or fun ticket item that you're wanting to do this year?
Oh my goodness. I'm like, where do we start? Because I feel like we're kind of at the start of the new year still, kind of. I'll
Yep.
give myself a
I
little
feel
bit
like
of, yeah.
January was yesterday. I'm like,
I know.
wait,
Like,
I
oh
just
my
want to,
gosh.
yeah, like accomplish our goals.
Oh my gosh. We have so many amazing operational initiatives that are going on here
That's awesome.
for us, which is super fun. Our whole team is like all hands on deck of just we've already got great systems and processes, but just more formalizing those. I'm sure for folks that are
Yeah.
listening, you get to a place where you've really scaled and tightened and you're
Yep.
going, and then you start to bring on more people. And so
Yeah.
you build that out more. So
Mhm.
I'd say that is what we're all working on right now. And it's cool because then it's
I love
starting
it.
to give us transparency about other
Awesome.
opportunities or
Yeah.
manpower to fill or things of that sort.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Just getting organized. That's exciting. Well, we're
Yeah.
rooting for you and everybody at Out and About Communications. Big fan of your team and you always. So
Oh,
thank you so
thank
much
you.
for coming on and sharing your wisdom. We appreciate it.
Of course. So fun. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Bye.